And we're live.
Okay, and we are live. Yes. Good morning, everybody.
Good
Morning.
Good
morning.
morning.
Is it 2024 yet?
Oh God.
Close.
No, because then I didn't do what I wanted to do for myself this year. Hopefully not.
Understood. I think we're ready to move on to another year.
Yeah, I'm good.
Let's just skip this one, okay?
This has been the
No,
longest
this totally not.
2023 ever.
This week is this is me, my saw this
We're
week.
not
is-
even 2 weeks in, right?
Oh my God, 9 days in.
For
I'm like, oh
reals.
God.
Well, here we are nonetheless, and if nothing else, we're all together,
Mhm.
Always.
right? We're together as a staff. We're together with our ThinTexters who are out there who apparently cannot live without checking in with us every Monday morning. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
You love us.
So, but the important thing is people are engaging, people are using this to
Mhm.
forward themselves, to benefit themselves. And hey, speaking of,
Hey,
there's
Good morning,
Joe.
Joe.
What's going on, Joe?
Hi,
Joe,
Joe.
I have good news for you. Pretty soon you're going to be receiving the guide for maintenance. The ThinTech guide. Not everyone is eligible for it, Joe, because you have gotten to that point where that is what you need. You cannot lose anymore. You're going to disappear. So you need to be able to maintain, and you need to have the tools to be able to do that. And we are going to be supporting you with that. Okay?
you know what just came to mind?
What?
I'm a big Beetlejuice fan. So like it's one of my top favorite movies. It's the handbook for the newly departed. When you said the guide to, I like went through my head. I don't know why.
You know, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking with weight loss, as with a lot of things in life, you're better off starting at the end and then working forward, right? So
Mhm.
people start out weight loss with the idea of just losing weight, and they have no further plan than that.
Right.
Like they're done, and they're hoping that somehow miraculously it'll stay off, or they're making vows, or they're praying, or something, and yet going back to their same habits
Yeah.
very often. And so no
Well,
wonder
I
it
saw
doesn't work.
this. I saw this meme actually this weekend, and it was a woman that was like this. Please, God, just let me lose that weight one more time, and I promise I won't screw it up. I promise this will be the time. And I was really laughing too hard.
I didn't see that. It's brilliant. We're all there. Weight loss and weight maintenance is not the same thing.
No.
And now we have the tools. We have our program, and we also have this guide and the content. And I have to tell you, with all humility, the content is outstanding.
Oh God, I knew. I
Wait,
just knew.
wait, I'm
How
having
did-
lighting issue.
Yeah.
Lighting issues here.
I
Okay,
knew.
good,
I knew
that's
that was
still going.
coming.
Yeah,
That's-
no, it's outstanding and it's needed. What, Jen?
I was gonna say that lighting issue is God shining down and saying,
You took the
It's
words
my
out of it,
halo.
like the heavenly gates. Look, the sun is shining, the clouds are parting,
and
it's
said,
shining
God
shining
shows
on you.
himself.
I told you, we went through this a few weeks ago. You are the angels. The three of you are the angels, and Trish, and I am more like the priest.
I
Right?
broken halos.
So that's how it works. People confess to me all the time. I've been meaning to invest in a collar for a long time. Right? People come back.
I've earned my wings.
Yes. Okay, good. So listen, Jackie, you were saying before how you're talking to your friends and the conversations are always the same. Everyone's like, it's a new year, it's a new me. This is the year I'm going to do it. And
Yep.
I found this crazy thing.
Yeah.
And so what have you been hearing from people?
So, it's funny. So we're at like this whole health kick and January, and that's it. And we're going to do it. And they're like, but first I'm going to kickstart it with like, there's the cabbage soup diet, all these crazy extreme, we call them fad diets, but it's good because it'll make me drop the first 10 pounds of water. And, or, I'll drop a couple of pounds here and then I'll be able to get into my routine. But they are so, when you actually read these diets that people are doing them, just for, I'm sorry, it's a quick fix. This is not health. This is not the way you should lose weight. Yes, you may drop a couple of pounds, but you're definitely doing something wrong. I mean, and some of these are so extreme. We're talking not eating for 1-2 days. Then you're fasting, having smoothies, adding in fruits, then not eating again, changing your sleep. You're pretty much depriving your body of what it needs. So it's going into survival mode. You're not
Right.
doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Well, let me say something, and then I want to ask a question to you guys. But I don't have a problem with a person who's in an emergency situation doing something extreme. I think part of the problem with people is that they're unwilling to, and they think that they can do things incrementally.
Agreed.
Sometimes, and let me misquote an author. Sometimes it takes a wild charge to win a life.
Well,
Sometimes you got to put your head down and scream and go forward and do something that might be considered unusual or extreme. The problem I have is that if people think that that's some kind of a long-term solution or that it's
yes.
going to lead to health,
Yeah.
that's
Or
the problem.
But Dr. R, not even that. A lot of these diets, like I looked up a couple, right? Just to say, the most popular ones: grapefruit diet. Okay, so you're living on grapefruit juice. Lemonade diet, the cotton ball diet. Like they got extreme.
Cotton ball diet.
That's just
Yeah.
bizarre.
A cotton ball diet. Do you know what that is? They
Yeah.
soak cotton balls in orange juice and swallow them.
The hell is
Oh, to fill up the stomach, they expanded the
Yes.
stomach. That is
Like-
idiotic.
Like
That's dangerous.
That's
baby,
not a diet. That's just stupidity.
but it's not. But people are like, oh, but if I just do one or two times, like this is the mindset. People are so desperate for results that
Right.
they're doing something so extreme where it's like, well, everybody else is doing it, nothing's happened yet. So like it's crazy.
No,
The
don't do
baby
that.
food diet where people literally eating baby food.
And I'm going to defend that also. That is not a bad idea. Baby food is organic,
Not all.
right? It's a lot
Not
of
all.
it. Very often it is. It's generally made from good whole foods. We know that people will eat things that they would never give to their babies,
True.
right?
That's true.
Jen, what were you going to say?
No, I was just thinking I actually like mashed foods like purees and so
Absolutely.
I could do a baby food diet if it's
But
right.
think about it this way, Jen.
That's what they serve, Jen, in the
But they-
nursing home.
But
In the
I
prisons,
think
in
the
the
concept
prisons.
behind the baby food is that so they're not chewing anything. It's less for them to digest.
Yeah.
Did you see the nursing home?
Yeah, did you see what thank you, Jackie, the nursing home. Because he's older than me and he's referring me to the nursing home.
He's older than me, also.
As a soul, I am.
He's the oldest one here.
Not the body.
That's right.
Well, I have no
Old and
idea.
wise.
I cannot reveal these things. I'm a gentleman. A gentleman never reveals the age of his female cohorts.
But it's like it is like the military diet. Like I felt like I started reading them. And listen, have I ever been in a situation where I'm like, oh wow, that really creeped up. How can I lose 20 pounds in 5 days? Well, if I eat hot dogs and applesauce, I'm right there. But I'm like, it's crazy how many people really do. This is their version of jump starting into health. And I'm like, well, isn't this the total opposite?
Well, people don't have an understanding of what health is. We've talked about this before.
No.
If they're
Yeah.
saying they want to lose water weight, like if you remove water from the body, how is that healthy? Water
No,
is
it's
like the
not.
source of life. So we shouldn't be losing water weight. That's like
That's right. I always tell people if you want to improve your metabolism, the first thing is becoming properly hydrated.
Hydrated.
Now there's a difference between drinking a ton of water and being properly hydrated.
Agreed.
Hydration means that your cells have the nutrients and the water that they need to power them.
right.
You really
And
need
it-
to have a separate talk on that because when you
Nobody
say
understands
hydration to someone,
Even after I say it several times, they don't get it.
hydration, everyone's like, oh, I drink fluids, I drink
Right.
water, my tea counts, I had
Everyone
a
is
Gatorade.
so indoctrinated, and the reason that I think is because doctors, for the most part, think that we're idiots.
Yeah.
And they always have some kind of a simple, glib solution, like you want your bones to be strong, just pound milk, drink calcium. It's not that simple. The body processes are more complex than that. If you want to be hydrated, just drink a ton of water. No, it's not that simple. It doesn't
No.
work like that. It's about your cells actually absorbing the nutrients and the water, and there are certain things that must be done to see that happens.
Right.
It's one of the blessings of our program.
Mm-hmm.
But here's my question for you. Let's talk about fad diets, because I looked up the term fad diet, and there is a problem with fad diets, or at least with calling something a fad diet.
Fad diet, yes.
What is your understanding of what a fad diet is? Corinne?
The newest craze to lose weight fast.
Okay, good. That's in alignment with a lot of the definitions if you look it up.
Mhm.
Yeah, Jen, how about you?
So yeah, I was basically going to say like the newest, most recent thing, but not necessarily something that's lasting or sustainable.
Got it. Yep. Also, that's generally considered part of the definition. Yeah, Jackie.
Same thing. I thought the same thing. And actually, when I was looking up the terms, I was a little surprised at what some of the real definitions are of this fad diet. It's not always in the negative, apparently, but it should be.
Well, and this is part of the problem is that the term fad has to do with trendiness or popularity,
Trend
right?
and new, and it's
It's the
positive and
latest
money.
thing. Right.
Mhm.
Now, there's another definition, or at least it's a connotation where fad is unhealthy, bad for you, unsustainable. Now, those two different concepts of the word are not necessarily interchangeable, right? And they're used that way. So very often the term fad diet is used more as an accusation or an insult by people who have a vested interest, right? Fed says nothing about effectiveness.
Yep.
You can call something a fad. Detoxing. Is detoxing a fad? Certainly not. Detoxing has been done by every culture in the world since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
So is fasting, and actually,
So is fasting.
is super healthy for the cells. It's
Right.
actually, if you follow intermittent fasting, specifically like 1 meal a
Appropriately.
day, right? OMAD, it actually is considered the anti-cancer
Yes.
program.
Right.
Because it helps
But
rejuvenate the body in between.
Everything old is new again. So if you're
Yeah.
calling that, if you're calling OMAD 1 meal a day a fad diet, it can be because people aren't aware of the origins of it. However, cultures for both health and religious reasons have been fasting since mankind has
But
been.
you know what's funny? Fasting is so now again, another myth, right? Fasting is not a bad thing.
No.
So when everyone's like,
No.
oh, but you're starving yourself.
No.
So it's appropriate to then have, like I said, applesauce and hot dogs and cabbage juice. And that's
Cotton balls.
the only thing good in there is the cabbage. Because if you're having applesauce from a jar, I'm pretty sure, unless it's organic and clean, no sugar added, you shouldn't be having it. But intermittent fasting, I actually have a friend who's doing it now, keto version.
Love it.
He always did very well with keto, and he was off for a little bit, and now he's doing this version. But if you think of, everyone's like, wow, but that's extreme. Like that's bad. But is it, right? So as long as you're doing it appropriately, you're hydrating your body the way you're supposed to, you're watching your intake, and then when you start to introduce the healthy, appropriate foods, your body's nourished. There's nothing wrong with that. It's eating the unhealthy options and then skipping 3 meals, like, because you're thinking you're justifying that calorie intake or not, or being in that calorie deficit and then feeding yourself with like a bag of Doritos. That's just not that's not the balance,
I guess a point I want to make is that whatever we're looking at, we have to look at it from a kind of an intellectual, analytical place, as opposed to from a very kind of reflexive, reactive place. And that's what a lot of people do, right? I mean, oh, that's crazy. Intermittent fasting, I can't only have 2 meals a day. Why not? Because your mommy said that you had to have 3?
Right.
So whatever it is, you have to. I'm sorry?
Breakfast is not necessarily the best meal of the day, the most important meal of the day.
Breakfast is relatively new, really, historically. 3 meals a day are new. 6 meals a day, that's a new thing also.
My husband's family does not do breakfast. They never did as kids.
No.
They would have coffee, and I'm sure same thing, not necessarily pastry, but something
to dunk.
To dunk.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's necessarily appropriate, but in Europe, but I have to say,
continental breakfast, yeah.
They're all thin, they're healthy,
right.
They eat later, their stretches are much longer, like no, just coffee. Just something to get them started, liquids of some sort.
Right.
And but none of them eat breakfast.
That is a break fast. I just pulled up something, 11 benefits of fasting. And it lists detox, mental health, effective chemotherapy, weight loss, helps to treat epilepsy and healthy intestines, alleviates rheumatoid arthritis, treats pancreatitis, speeds up healing, and is better for your skin, releases growth hormones, protects heart health, repair. I mean, it's amazing. I'm going to
Can
actually,
you send me that, Jen?
I will.
Yeah, please send me that too.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and I'm gonna tell you why, because so different conversations. So obviously we say one thing and then it could spiral out into another
Sure.
topic that someone might be thinking, right? When you think about just fasting in general, there, because of the health benefits, not to say that we're all be talking about fasting today, but
Right.
when you start to break that fast, what you're putting into your body, think about it this way. If you go into, and we've all been there at some point, like for example, I haven't eaten anything yet. Sometimes after indulging, eating unhealthy, quick on the go, no plan, no prep,
Right.
you almost feel that sense. There's no hunger. Like I'm not hungry at all right now. I in my mind, what would I normally do? I'm getting up. I'm making something to eat because I'm going to get caught up in work. I'm not going to eat later. That's wrong. I have to make the time to eat appropriately when my body needs to eat. So whether it be lunch, my snack, personally, and Jen and I have had this conversation, Dr. Art too. I do better normally when I eat throughout the day, like graze. But I can't, when I'm starting a program or a diet or some sort of regimen, coming off of not treating my body good and eating bad, I can't just eat. Like I need to stretch it. And I feel so much better. I'm like, I already feel lighter. I feel like that release, like my body is doing its job, like to rid the toxins.
Yeah.
Well, let me speak to this. I'm sorry, Jed. Let me speak to this for a moment. This idea of grazing.
Thank you.
Right? Yeah. This idea of grazing, it's good for animals. The latest research says not so much for human beings.
Agreed.
Now, why is that? Because you don't give your body a chance to digest the food, and you're always, each time you eat, your insulin goes up, and so you're keeping your insulin elevated.
Yeah.
And I think that's my problem.
It's better to not snack between meals and to have those very defined times. A meal should be like a book, right? It should have a beginning and it should have an end. It should not be like a conversation between my staff. So we need to be aware of this. By the way, everything I'm saying now is in the guide. Best practice, wait, let me qualify this. As a best practice for most people. When it comes to nutrition, it's very hard to say anything absolute, right? Because you have all these experts, they each have studies for things that are conflicting philosophically.
Right.
Right? But as far as the best practice, as far as the consensus, it seems that we're better off having those very defined, definitive fasting periods between meals.
Yeah.
Right, Jen?
So, yeah. So, one of the biggest contributors to diabetes, believe it or not, is snacking between meals and late night eating.
Right.
So, we have all these people who are diabetics who will say, but I have to eat because blah, 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 blah. And it's also an adjustment period for the body. So, one of the similar things is people who say they have greasy hair, so they have to wash it all the time. And actually you're constantly stripping. You have to go through a period where you allow your body to
rejuvenate.
It has to rejuvenate.
Right.
So once you regulate your insulin levels, your sugar levels, and stop the insulin resistance, and you can go longer and longer. And actually intermittent fasting is one of the best things for diabetics. So I did send you guys that article that I looked up, so we can post that. But
I was going to say, I'm going to put that into our email.
Yeah, thank you. All the things that we've been told are actually counterproductive to the way our bodies are designed to work. So
yeah, it's interesting. And if you look into it, a lot of them were created by people with a vested interest. The heavy carb breakfast with cereals. I mean, that was created by the Kellogg's.
Yeah.
They don't do that in a lot of other places. What, Jack?
Don't
even
start
with sugars.
Yeah.
It's a bad idea.
And everyone's like, oh, I had a smoothie for breakfast. You shouldn't have fruit first, ever.
I'm hungry, but I ate oatmeal.
Right. So much misunderstanding. Now, by the way, even if you're going to eat oatmeal, there's certain kinds that are better to eat, right? Steel cut oats, so your body can then digest it as opposed to it being kind of pre-digested. But I had a conversation the other day, and this just goes to show you how much misunderstanding there is out there. I spoke to a gentleman in Kentucky. He found us on the internet. So we did a consultation, and this guy's not in good shape. I mean, he's a very heavy guy. He's on a lot of medications for, all the usual suspects, right? Diabetes and cholesterol, etc. And he was saying like he struggles to lose weight, and he does everything right. I'm like, well, what do you do? He's like, well, I eat mostly fruit. I eat 10 fruits a day. Really? Yes. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I have 2 bananas. Now, he's a diabetic all day long. He's pumping sugar into his system, right? Also, because he's a diabetic, he's drinking diet soda. These are myths. By the way, for those of you who are not aware of this, diet soda is poison.
But when I hear, it's the same thing like milks, right? When you hear, oh, but I got skim milk. I'm like, just get the full fat. What are you doing? It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense to me. It drives diet soda and milks. I like the most irritating conversations.
Yeah, but listen, we can't be too judgmental, because these things change over time. These trends, there's always a new trend coming, right? And there's always a new thought and a new understanding. I mean, we still don't know that much, and nutrition and diet has been studied now for a long time.
So that's part of the problem right there. Stop studying and go back to the way foods were in nature. There's something called the Whole 30.
Whole 30, Mediterranean
it's a fad.
diet.
It's paleo, keto. It's a fad, right?
They're not fads.
I know, but that's the accusation.
Old is new. Everything old is new. But the thing is, if people have a myth about eggs, like, oh, they're bad for you. So and I was educated on that. I'm so grateful for the first pediatrician I had for my kids. She was a family practitioner, and she used the word, it's a whole food. 30 years ago, I didn't even know what the hell that meant. So I started looking into it. If it's found in nature that way, hasn't been adulterated, hasn't been GMOified, modified. If it's a whole food, your body accepts it and recognizes it. That's how we should be eating. The way it's found in nature, non-processed, eat it.
But think about the conversations. I'm sorry, Doctor. Go ahead.
No, please.
I mean, if you think about this, we tell people to eat the rainbow, right? Eat in color, Mediterranean diet, keto, paleo, everything that's listed there is something that is either grown or naturally made.
Right.
Aside from that, when we do eat those things, everything that comes full circle, right? It's like you're saying, going back. You've been brushing your teeth. Oh, so cool. I use charcoal now. That's not new. People have been using charcoal to heal, to clean, to detox for years. And now it's used for more than just brushing your teeth, a facial, a body wash. It's doing, that's been around. That came out before Dove soap. That's been around a long time. So there are different things that we take for granted because we wait for someone to say, oh, look, this is the new thing. This is what works. This is what that's just, there's so much out there that we overlook that's in our own backyard, literally, that we can do to make small changes for huge improvements.
Well, Jackie, when I looked today, when I was looking up fad diets, and I saw some of the ones that were listed, and it included paleo, and it included the Mediterranean diet, and included intermittent fasting. And so the funny thing about this is that the whole movements about paleo or Mediterranean is to find out what our native diets are supposed to be.
Yes.
And to eat in that way. And yet that's considered a fad. Why? Yeah. Because someone called it a fad or because it's popular. So you can't conflate what's popular with what is not good for you. I mean, quality is quality. And effectiveness is effectiveness. Absolutely. I don't care that Justin Bieber is popular. He stinks. U2 is better than him, even though they're less popular. So in other words,
we are coming into the office and playing all Justin Bieber.
There's no Bieber allowed in the office.
We're playing Harry Styles. I'm on a Harry Styles kick.
I don't know. Listen, Bieber's not that bad, I guess. But
we're all going.
But does everyone get the idea?
Dr. R is paying.
to see Bieber?
Yeah, let's go.
I've done that once. Well, the trauma that
I know.
That's why we're going again. I got to see the trauma.
We're not revisiting that, Corinne.
Yeah, we are. Yep,
Yes,
we
certainly
definitely
are.
are.
I almost,
Definitely are.
I almost swore off music after that evening.
Sherry's
Jen's
laughing.
coming.
Sherry's laughing
Jen's
at me.
coming.
All right.
Like,
So what's our take home for people? Like, what can we leave them with that's going to be valuable when we're having this conversation about quote unquote fad dieting?
Think about it like you said. If it's not grown from the ground, it's not something we should be putting in our mouths. We should be figuring out fun recipes and how to eat if it's something that is grown from the ground or such as like an animal, like natural things from earth. And supply yourself with the foods from natural things from earth.
I'm gonna
Fair
bring
enough.
back the recipes when we talk because I think it
ooh,
starts another conversation. There's and it's not about being creative. It's not about knowing how to cook because you don't need to be either. There are so many resources online. I mean, even myself, we were at 37 hours to meet yesterday and 45 minutes in between. And I'm like, all right, let's plan our menu this week, right? And I'm looking through and I'm like, clean this, clean that. Just by taking a couple of things with not knowing that, not having a lot of time, but I didn't want to start this week off bad, coming home late. And I'm like, a clean chili. Simple things everyone has, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a homemade fresh cut tomatoes. But if you have, crushed tomatoes in your cabinet in a can, crushed tomatoes, beef, onions, start what season your food, flavors. I think we have to get back to the fact that eating clean, doing well for your body is not a punishment. It doesn't have to taste bad. It doesn't have to smell like ass. Kelly, those cabbage soup diet thing. Cabbage is great. You
Jack
don't
is getting muted. I see him going for the mute button. Look at that, he muted you.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, Jackie is saying distasteful things, but
seriously.
Yes.
here's what. Oh wait, she unmuted herself. What? I'll unmute her. Okay, good.
Thank you.
There we go.
Don't worry, doctor. Or all you do is just go to the pressure cooker and say, "Oh, here's some salmon. Oh, here's some carrots.
I've never
Here's some
used the pressure
potatoes.
cooker.
Here's some whatever."
The air
You do these
fryer.
weird concoctions, and then
The-
you're like, "This is so good."
It works.
Yeah, the idea is that food can be tasty and it
Yes.
can be and should be natural.
Yes.
But there are certain things that we're designed to eat. But I want people to get this understanding about, I had a professor in chiropractic school, and he used to say to us, "Think, damn it, think." Some things just don't make sense when you look at them from a very analytical perspective.
Right.
And it's the same thing with fad diets, both ways. It doesn't matter if it's trendy. Is it effective? Does it nourish the body? Does it lead to a good outcome?
Right.
Is it sustainable, which is really more up to the individual than it is the plan itself. That's what we need to be looking at.
Mhm.
We start out with a detox on most of our programs, right? We start out with a detox. Why? Well, we live in New Jersey, for God's sakes. I mean, we're exposed to all these poisons. We have to clean up the system. There's no way to do that in a high calorie way.
It's true.
We have to let the cells rest. We have to let the body be able to integrate and
Agree.
cleanse itself, right? So that's why we do that. But it's not a fad thing to do a detox like that. It's a first step in getting healthier. That's the idea. Make sense?
It does make sense. And there's a lot of things that people they underestimate. Like our bodies really, we're blocking our bodies from doing their job. So our bodies are meant to fix themselves, heal themselves, feed themselves, hydrate themselves. And these little triggers, I'm just going to do it once. Okay, this is just going to roll over into a splurge weekend. Okay, what's the big deal? I'm having one cookie a day, but I go to Pilates 5 days a week. You're stopping your body. Even if you're not seeing that immediately, on the inside, your body's, deflecting. It's constantly being that superhero. Like, oh God, stop. So I feel like we have to bring it back to basics. And basics does not mean boring, does not mean tasteless, does not mean torture. It's bringing it back to simplicity. Years ago, if you look back, even in books in general, you very rarely saw those that were overweight. Think about that.
That's right. So this brings to mind a couple of principles that kind of distinguish holistic doctors from medical doctors, or the holistic community from the medical community, because the principle that holistic people start out with is the body is a self-healing, self-regulating organism.
Exactly.
Therefore, our job is to remove any interferences or barriers towards the body being able to do that,
Yes.
so the body could do its job.
Correct.
Agreed.
The idea in conventional medicine, and again, this is a very kind of, 21st century understanding, is what can we do to intervene generally to suppress symptoms? It's a very different come from. And I'm saying that just trying to be as accurate as possible, not trying to suggest that one thing is better than the other.
I'll suggest it.
Yeah, here comes Jen.
We know, Jen. We know.
Well, it depends on context. Everything depends on context, right? Because if you don't do the initial work and then you end up on the table of a cardiothoracic surgeon, then yes, then the holistic approach is not going to help at that moment.
That's
So
different.
it's about appropriateness, and it starts with understanding.
Yes.
Health cannot be found in the bottom of a bottle or at the tip of a syringe. Health comes from what we do every day to give the body the optimal conditions so that it can function the way it's meant to. And then if there are things going on, can heal itself. I mean, you break a bone, obviously you need it set, because you don't want it healing crooked. So you do need to orthopedists for things like that.
Yeah.
But then there are supplements and remedies you can take to heal the bones faster. There's something called Bone Set, which is it's made from an herb that, I'm not recommending this. I'm just saying what I've used.
There are alternatives. There is another way if you genuinely believe.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's what it is. There has to be knowledge. I don't think there's enough. The problem is the wrong knowledge is at the forefront. So when our immediate thing to go look for, someone has a fever, my kid has X symptoms, or eczema, right? This is another one too, because I suffer for this with my daughter, which means clearly she's off internally. But if you look up eczema issues, immediately, no
steroids.
The first 10 things on Google, nothing refers to food or gut health.
Right.
It discusses topical, environmental. Yes, absolutely. Those are contributing factors, but it means that there's something off in her body.
Correct. Yeah.
So something is happening inside, which is why it's coming outward. And then whatever's happening on the outside is causing additional inflammation.
Right.
So everything is coming, it's growing in, out. So if you want healthy externally, you have to start inside.
Correct. And you actually want that coming out.
Yes.
Not to like go off on a side topic, but if it's coming out of the body, that's actually a good thing. That's a
detoxing. Our body's pushing it out.
Correct. So when people suppress the symptoms of eczema,
Mm-hmm.
there's an eczema-asthma connection.
Yes.
That's when you suppress the skin symptoms, better out than in, it goes and attacks the lungs. That's the first place it goes to. And that's why you have people who have signs of eczema, when they lather on steroids, it drives it inward because it's not allowed to express itself on the skin.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that eczema-asthma connection link comes from.
Right.
You don't want it in the organ.
I get that, but that's something, excuse me, it does actually have relation to food. But again, looking up research, and when you're just first learning, everyone says, the most important information, the most relevant are on the first page of Google.
No, and that's
keep digging.
Keep digging and understand that the companies that profit the most off of those cures are paying the most to have their keywords come up first. So it's, no money's to be made in a cure. Like doctors, I think Dr. R said this before, doctors should be paid by how many scripts they get people off of, not how many that people are on. Like, I don't have high blood pressure, I don't have diabetes, but you're on 15 scripts. You do have it. You're just suppressing it.
Well, there's
just in case.
There's a story, and I'm not sure if it's apocryphal or not, but that I guess in somewhere in Asia, maybe currently or maybe in the past, doctors used to be paid on a regular basis, and they were not paid when you were sick. You stopped paying them when you got sick.
Smart.
So do you see
really?
that mindset? How much sense that makes? The job of the doctor should be to prevent illness.
Right.
It should not be, at least from this perspective, right? Should not be to wait until you get ill and then intervene with drugs which may or may not cause other issues.
True.
So that's an old way of looking at things. The point is, there is such a thing as health. There are fads that come and go. By the way, some of these fads are from conventional medicine. There's
Yes.
always something new coming
Right.
out, whether it's a new medication, a new procedure. So those things could be considered fads as well. They get popular, you hear about them, then they go by the wayside. Maybe they're ineffective, or maybe they do a subsequent study and find out that there are a lot of bad side effects.
Yeah.
So those would be considered fads as well, not only fad dieting.
No.
Mhm.
No, it's both.
That's right. Okay, good. So I think we got a lot done today.
Yeah.
I think it's
Ooh,
time to
Monday.
say our goodbyes. Let's not forget, for those people who are listening to us who have gone up and down in weight and are looking for the next thing, we have the next thing. We now have the ability to help people with weight maintenance, which is a different animal than weight loss. We have to understand this idea. We have what we call our ThinTech program.
Right.
The
Mhm.
ThinTech program is designed to be a maintenance program that works with how you kind of function naturally.
Yes.
Yeah.
It works with your lifestyle. You get to choose what your plan is, but we help you and we support you, hold you accountable. There are 2 proactive detoxes, 10-day detoxes per year, which is really wonderful. But there's a lot more to it than that.
Yes.
Mhm.
This is the fad you want.
This is a good fad.
Absolutely.
All right, let's say our goodbyes.
See
Bye,
ya.
guys.
Bye,
Next
everyone.
We'll
Have a
speak
good
to everyone
week.
next week. Take care.